That's called Quarter to Five, and I do that in memory of my best friend, Tina Loney. I was working on it when she was dying. My name is David Gans, and I'm here to demonstrate the amazing Rick Turner Renaissance RS6 Deuce. And as you can see, I use it for looping, and I cannot imagine a better instrument for my purposes than this one. And in fact, I would say that my style as a performer is directly connected to the capabilities of this instrument. I met Rick Turner in 1981 when he started his own company, and I was writing for BAM and other magazines, and I interviewed him and wrote an article about his new company, and I bought one of his guitars. I bought a Model 1 back then, and it became my primary instrument. And I became friends with Rick over the years because I was interested in his experiences for my purposes as a journalist, and because I wanted to support him and help his business as much as I could. And over the years, we became friends. In 1998, I was in his shop with my Model 1, schmoozing, and I pulled one of these new guitars off the wall and started playing it. And it was one of these. It was the first Rick Turner Renaissance RS6. And I immediately felt like a better musician when I picked it up. It fit me, and it played what I wanted it to play so beautifully. So I bought one. And what I'm holding now is my third one. I bought a second one in 2012 to take advantage of the many advances that Rick had made since originally introducing the instrument. The first one only had the piezo pickup under here and did not have a magnetic pickup. And since I had started using it as my touring instrument, I was doing a lot of looping and I wanted some more sonic range. I asked Rick if it was possible to put a magnetic pickup on it. And as it happened, when I asked him, he said they were working on it. He said, Seymour and I are on it. Give me a couple months. And he called me a couple months later and said, it's ready. Come, bring your instrument in. He and Seymour Duncan had designed a pickup that was suited for this kind of instrument. It's fundamentally an acoustic guitar, so you can't put a regular magnetic pickup on it. And in fact, the original pickups for this, you could see that the pole pieces for the two bare strings were basically non-existent. They made a beautiful pickup. And the original version of my guitar, they just installed the second pickup on a second circuit. So I had two outputs from the guitars running them into a A/B switch. Well, in 2012, I ordered a second one because they had made all of the improvements in the design that I was hoping for. They put the two pickups together on a stereo preamp with a blend pot, so I could play both the acoustic and electric sounds And in fact, what I wound up doing was leaving it in the middle and playing both at all times, which is pretty much how I use it now. This guitar was made shortly after Rick Turner died. I had the great good fortune of knowing him for 40 years, and I spent time with him on his last day in public. It was at the Skull and Roses Music Festival in Ventura, California in April of 2022. Rick had come down as part of a big exhibit with the Grateful Guitars Foundation, and he had set up a booth behind their exhibit with a bunch of Rick's, historic instruments and current products. And he had brought his shop foreman, Zach Jones, down. And I've become friends with Zach because I met him through mutual friends in Atlanta several years ago before he moved out here. So I was good friends with Rick, and I was good friends with the guy who wound up taking over responsibilities or running the shop after Rick's untimely demise. I saw him on the first day of the Skull and Roses Festival, and that night he fell ill and went in the hospital and died shortly thereafter, which was a great shock to all of us. I mean, literally, I had been schmoozing with him, this afternoon, and the next day he was in the hospital. But Zach was the one who gave me the news, and Zach was the one who I spoke to when it came time to specify this instrument. I waited a month or so after Rick died to see what was going to happen with the company, and it turned out that the company was going to continue to exist. So I spoke with Zach at some length, and we talked about what we should do. And the only thing I knew for sure was that I wanted the slightly wider neck because my hands are fairly big, and I had been running into narrowness problems. Now I'm ruined because this one is so comfortable to me that when I play any of my guitars with the narrower necks, I really notice the difference. But this has a redwood top and sycamore back and sides, all very, very local wood from Santa Cruz. This guitar has more range, more high end, more low end than any other instrument I've ever played. And I use every bit of its sonic range when I'm doing loop pieces because I need to layer various things into the sound, and you can, where you play, you know that where you hit the string causes changes in the way it sounds, and also with this instrument, how hard I hit it also changes the way it sounds. So when I can build a loop piece starting with a gentle kind of acoustic sound. For example, here's a piece of mine called Cassidy's Cat, which is a sort of pastiche of Grateful Dead melodic ideas over a groove. Get my delay in time. That's part of my rhythmic approach, is that I use a delay to help create some space. And I'll use the chorus to build my substrate here. guitar has so many different sounds available just from how and where I strike the strings. And this isn't, you know, I'm doing a fairly subdued sound through this quiet rig here. When I'm playing out, and I can play a little bit louder, it's even more striking how much expressive range this instrument has. And I have, in the studio, I've played it through a tube amp, like you plug it into a Mesa Boogie and it kind of sounds like a Strat, you know. So it functions in that way if you want it to. But what I want in my solo performances is to be able to do everything, you know, just with my hands. I have an equalizer here to boost things a little bit, and I use the Earth Drive for a little fuzz here and there. But mostly what I use is the echo, the digital delay, to create a little, help me create a rhythmic space into which I operate. But everything else is done with the guitar, and it's done with touch. And this instrument is just so amazing and so beautiful and so perfectly balanced. And I rarely touch any of the knobs. I keep the EQ wide open. I want to get every bit of information that these strings have to offer. And I keep the blend pot in the middle so that I can reach the electric vibe just by hitting harder, and I can have more of the acoustic feel by stroking it more gently. And everything is right here in the instrument. And that's how I want it to be. I'm fundamentally a songwriter who plays the guitar, and it's taken me 50 years to become a guitar player of what I consider of any particular merit. And a lot of what makes my music sound so unique is what this instrument makes available to me as a performer. This guitar I consider to be a Rick Turner memorial instrument that was made by Zach Jones and his crew with our mutual love for Rick and our mutual appreciation of his work in mind. And I tell the world about these Rick Turner instruments, and anytime anybody gets a chance to play one, they tell me how much they love it. And I don't know why more working musicians don't have them, because they solve so many problems. They won't feedback. You can get up on a festival stage with no sound check at all, and you can know that when you plug it in, it's going to sound right. And that is, you know, in my line of work, when you don't get a sound check, you want an instrument that you know you don't have to fuss with. And this is that. It's a magical, magical instrument that has just provided me with tremendous inspiration, interfaces with my hands perfectly, interfaces with my heart brilliantly, and always impresses people. And one of my favorite things about this guitar is when they come up and say, "Is that a custom instrument?" I say, "Nope. The only thing on it that's custom is my logo on the neck. Otherwise, you could buy one just exactly like it." Well, my name is David Gans, and I'm a songwriter who plays guitar. I've also developed a bit of a career as a journalist over the years. I've published several books, most of them about the Grateful Dead. I produce and distribute a nationally syndicated radio show called The Grateful Dead Hour, and I host a talk show on Sunday afternoons on SiriusXM's Grateful Dead channel with Gary Lambert that we call Tales from the Golden Road. I'm also a working musician. You can find my books and my music at perfectible.net, and I sign books that I sell, so you can order an autographed book from that site, perfectible.net. I perform out of the house some, but I mostly these days play a live concert at home at 4 o'clock every afternoon on streamstock.tv, on YouTube, on Twitter, or X I guess they call it now, and on Facebook, my D. Gans music page. So I'm playing every day in one format or another, and it's the best thing I ever did musically was make the habit of playing every day, and I owe that to the pandemic, oddly enough.